Ahoy! You're here with Kyle of Windy City Meeples, and we're here today to do a deep dive on campaign games, Kickstarters, and what I spent my money on. So come with me today. We're going to dive into the campaign games that I have on the way. Some of them on the boat, making their way over to North America, some of them still months away. Let's begin. So without further ado, let's get started today. So one of the first Kickstarters that kind of dove me into board gaming, again, as me and my co-host Shane talked about in earlier videos, we were both really big avid Magic the Gathering fans, right? And we just wanted something to break up playing, we playing Magic all the time, and that's all we were doing. So I really wanted to kind of reach out and try new games. And I really, growing up, always loved those RPG classic story kind of games where you get to have your combat, build your characters, and kind of move along. So you'll see the first few games in this category are kind of that dungeon crawl, narrative, story building type games. They're kind of what sucked me into Kickstarter and looking at some of these games first. I think for a lot of you guys, you've obviously probably heard of Gloomhaven at that point. That was the first physical big box kind of dungeon crawler narrative adventure I played. I do really enjoy Gloomhaven. I wish there was a little bit more on the story elements, but it's just really hard to get to the table. So I just kind of looked to see what else was out there. That being said, when it comes to getting things hard to the table, probably going to find that's going to be the same case with these next 5 games I talk about. And then once I kind of realized the mistake I was doing, about every game I backed was going to be like a 3 or 4 hour endeavor, big long campaigns that take 20 sessions of those 4-hour sessions, I really decided to kind of shorten it up. But that's the overview. So the first one here is one of the older ones that I'm waiting on. It did have some delays. That's the Vanguard. What I really liked about this one is when it first kind of popped out, they really talked about how they had app narration, so you could kind of hear the story through professional voice actors. And I really like the idea of being sucked into that world. Audiobooks are a big part of what helped me get to sleep at night. So I was really excited by that idea of having this professional, fully kind of voiced narration. So in this game, it's a campaign game. There's, I think, 5 different chapters, very, very story based. And there's a little bit of bag building too. So as you're fighting, as you're building up your characters, you're going to be kind of pulling these poker chips kind of out of a bag. And the cool thing is there's always 2 characters in each chapter. So it is a 1 to 2 player game. I thought this would be something that hopefully I can get my wife into play, so me and her can kind of play through it and kind of have our own campaign game, because a lot of the other campaign games we have are kind of a big group kind of activity. So I thought this would be an opportunity that I could, again, hopefully get my wife into play, possibly some friends too, and just kind of go through this world. So it's been so long since I looked at this Kickstarter page, but again, really excited to kind of look at this one. Anything with game trays, again, is always a plus. You can kind of see the art as I scroll through here. Crafting system, and with making your gear, kind of leveling up your guy. And again, that kind of bag building mechanic. At this point, when I kickstarted this, I didn't have any kind of game where I was pulling chips out of a bag. See, we have these custom chip bags here to kind of have the event. So for me, that was a really cool and exciting idea, and something I definitely wanted to explore. So that's kind of why I back this game, and I'm really looking forward to kind of diving in and kind of checking this world out. Again, these trays, everything here looks really, really cool. You kind of get to explore the world. There's dozens of locations, things it interacts with. So again, I'm really excited to explore this open world. It says here 4 campaigns that span over 30 hours, and then a 5th one was unlocked there during the stretch goals and stuff. So a lot to that game. Obviously, it didn't come for December 2020. I believe the updated estimation is supposed to be December of this year, but time will tell. But again, it's another big campaign game, so in no rush to get this one, but looking forward for when I do. So, Teneris Adventures. This was the game that probably sucked me in the hardest. For beautiful giant miniatures, I talked about this in my upcoming games I was excited for. So here's the Kickstarter page. It started out as Arena the Contest, and that is a skirmish game at heart, or I guess originally, where it can be up to 1 to 8 players, kind of doing a battle royale, right? Kind of in this world where they solve all their problems and crisis through arena fights. Like there in this world, there aren't armies, right? They kind of solve their conflicts through these arena skirmishes and battles. And I thought that was so cool. And again, I don't know everything about the world, so I don't want to spoil myself when I'm actually playing the game. But I do believe it's some rule kind of put in by the gods or the god of the world that kind of prevents that there being armies, and there's that fear of vengeance. So again, they do cover things through these arena battles. And if you're a warrior in these arena battles, it's almost like being like a local celebrity, right? Like it's a pretty big deal to be one of these heroes. The base game itself does have, I believe it's 9 to 11 missions of a campaign you could play. They kind of snuck that campaign in with the base game, and it was so popular that they decided to build an expansion around that story mode, right? Giving you a lot more. There's puzzles, adventures, more world building. They say that the decisions you make are going to have lasting decisions throughout the entire campaign. So over 100 hours total of co-op content. So I think it's about time I do some scroll through in here. This is probably the few games on this list that I'm all in on. I have everything coming for this game, so I really hope I like it. I watched every gameplay, like every video I could, so I feel like it's right up my alley. There's a little bit of a worry because this one did have quite the expensive price tag on it, but again, very good score on Board Game Geek. Again, you got the PvP, you got the co-op, so you got that nice mixture. So you got those tactical games here. The first stuff here, like again, that was an older one, of course, because I wasn't part of it. I had to kind of get everything here kind of all at once. So let's kind of show you guys kind of what it looks like. So we had lots of stretch goals, lots of miniatures. So you got these big boss miniatures. There is actually a painted version of this that I picked up. Me and my wife have started painting, but we're so backlogged behind. I thought it would be pretty cool to have some of these kind of already painted. So you see there's lots of bad guy miniatures here, miniatures, characters here. This is actually a guest character from the Vanguard that I just talked about. So that's pretty cool that they're kind of having all these guest characters from other board games. So that should be pretty exciting. Here's one from Madara, again, another big campaign game. And yeah, I just was kind of going through this. I've seen envelopes of secrets, these custom plastic trays, city structure upgrades, blacksmith, heroes, mansion, training grounds, all these different potential like quests and missions you can go on. And when I heard that the base game only had like 9 to 11, and again, I might be misspeaking my numbers there a little bit, how incredibly popular and amazing that it's been reviewed. And then I see this and there's like, well, there's just so many stuff here, right? So much stuff. So really, really looking forward to it. Again, these miniatures look so beautiful. One of the complaints about the first version of this game was the fact that the miniatures weren't as nice. So they've actually revamped and reworked all the miniatures from the base game. And I believe if you were a backer of the first game, they're actually giving them for free. And then, of course, me pledging at the current, I'm going to get those new miniatures as well. So really cool, really awesome opportunity to get to try this. I believe Wave 1 has closed, but you can still go on to Wave 2. Again, here's some more of those kind of boss battles or boss miniatures. Get distracted on what I'm going to say as I kind of go through this. But yeah, there's a whole lot of game here. And they had this Dragon Collection add-on as well that just gave you these epic dragon miniatures that can be bosses throughout the campaign. And they actually have added a boss versus boss mode as well, where you can kind of play these guys against each other. Just started dabbling in Dungeons and Dragons as well. So I figure these miniatures will get lots of use, and they look epic and mean. And I can't wait to have this on the table. And of course, there's that Dragon collection as well. So you can see I mentioned those reworked heroes. So there's lots of stuff in the boxes. And again, there's not a whole lot more to say. I will be covering this game way more in depth when I actually get my hands on it. But there's tons of characters. And it's a mixture of rolling a d20 and kind of, you have 4 ability cards in the main with the characters you pick. So it's that nice scrimmage game where there can be a lot of strategy, but hopefully you're not stuck there with like analysis paralysis, right? Where, you do only have those 4 options. You got some unique stuff to your character, but you're not sitting there with a million decisions trying to figure out, well, hey, what am I going to do? So yeah, these boards, I got those as well. Medusa is an extra character here. Here's where they talked about improving the miniatures from the base game. They're going to be quite large. And then we just go into stretch goals, which you guys don't need to see. But again, you guys can look this up. You can still late pledge in for wave 2. Like, this is just going to be awesome. Can't wait to give that one a try. So continuing our big campaign games, what's next? Storm Sunder, Heirs of the Ruin. This is another one that's supposed to be a big campaign game. It's supposed to take 3 acts. So 3 different big box games to complete this, plus all the stretch goals. This one, of course, you can still late pledge in. I believe right now the current estimation for part 1 is supposed to be this fall, I think October or November. We'll see if that continues to stand or not. But again, really looking forward to this one. So if they want to take some more time to perfect it, then that is totally okay too. So what I thought was really cool about this one, again, lots of miniatures, big world, grid-based kind of combat. You're moving your guys around. But as you're playing through this RPG element, your cast of characters, it's not just insert X hero here. There's this unique cast that all have their own personalities and decisions. And yes, as you're going through the book, there's a narration book and you kind of get to make some decisions. But there's going to be other times that say, if X character is with you, this happens, or they react this way. Maybe there's one character that's extra aggressive and you can't be diplomatic because they've already kind of made the decision for you, or they've made some kind of action. I believe there's one demo I was watching where the one character just kind of decapitates a guard captain instead of trying to be diplomatic. So it kind of takes that choice away from you. So very, very cool opportunities that you kind of get to see your cast of characters change and grow throughout the game. And Storm Sunder Lazy Game Squires here, they had this really cool video too. And I'm on their Discord channel and just trying to talk about how many playable characters and stuff are there. And there's a lot of vague comments because your team can change. Someone who might be with you early on in the game could, based on your decisions, decide they hate what the group is doing and kind of go off another way. Someone who, for one player, based on your decisions, this new character, let's say character assassin, is part of your team and joins you. In another person's campaign, based on your decisions, this character assassin could end up being a boss you have to fight. So there's kind of a little bit of give and take that way too, at least from the way I've had it explained to me from some of the runners of the Discord channel. They're giving some more information. So this one, there is some deck building. So your characters will have their gear, their character cards. So every turn you have your hand of cards. You kind of have to play it out to optimally decide, where do you want to move? How do you want to attack? How do you want to combo your cards together? And based on your story decisions, it can also add more cards to your deck or remove cards. And some can be hinders to you. So it could be, let's say Broken Heart. It could be a card in your deck. And whenever you draw that card, it might not have any effect whatsoever. So it just kind of slows and bogs your deck down because all these characters have their own flaws and personalities, right? So there might be something that they're struggling with based on the decisions you made that could end up making them weaker or, again, potentially stronger depending on kind of what decisions you make. So the really bit of the world building and the growing your characters is really what sucked me in. The beautiful miniatures are just another uh, excellent bit on top. Winter here, I think, is one of those characters where just in a little bit of the Discord channel, where it's like, is she with you? Is she not with you? Do you fight her? Is she a friend? I mean, they could just be teasing completely here, but I think that's one of those characters that maybe is with you or maybe not. So again, lots of characters here. You can see there's so much equipment cards. So this one's going to take up a lot of space, and it's going to take a lot of time. I really hope I can just sit down and play. But this is one that, if I'm being honest, might take me a very, very long time to get through. But if it's half as good as it's looking, as the demos I watched, the King of Average, his YouTube channel is actually the one that sold me on this. He has an excellent overview on this game. He had a prototype copy, and he said that him and his wife just love to play this one. So that was really, really kind of helped buy me in as well. The enemies have their AI deck. The one thing from me watching the demos, I wish some of these lines on the map were a little clear to see for like zones and tactical stuff. That's just such a small thing. Again, you see that grid-based tactics, so again, it's right in my wheelhouse. And really looking forward to this one. There is, like I said, there's all the miniatures, but there was so many extra added characters, miniatures, events through all these stretch goals. And a lot of guest characters from other games as well. Like, I don't want to go too slow or too fast because we'll be here all day. But there's lots of extra characters here, extra side quests. You see some golems. Yeah, so like you look at this guy's hat, like that is so cool. Some wolves. And here we go. There's some more crossover characters. So Wild Ascent's their first game. There's a monster from that. There's some, I think Act 3 looks like it's got a pirate theme to it. So there's some cool looking stuff down through that. I'm just gonna, yeah, there's some more crossover characters. And I'm just gonna go down a little bit because there's a page that kind of shows the content a little bit more. This one's also supposed to have a companion app as well. I think that's supposed to just help you kind of manage everything. So Storm Center, Heirs of the Ruin. So this is chapter 1 plus all the different, this is all the boxes, sorry. Let's go down, kind of everything's here. So just in the base wave 1, this is the one that's coming in October, November, you're getting everything kind of below in this strip here. So there's vampires. It's a very dark world. This one's not one where you would probably want to play with your family, where just from my little overview with that last one with Teneris, it does seem maybe it's a little bit more, you have the D20 you roll. There's probably still some mature themes, but I mean, this game talked about like decapitation. So again, one that's definitely a bit more of a mature theme. You got this like really dark fantasy world. But again, like the miniature list just goes on. And then again, this is just kind of chapter 1. And on. Like, oh man, fighting some of this stuff's going to be incredible. All the cards, the skills, the abilities, so you can really kind of switch up the way this works. So 46 enemy cards makes me feel like you're not necessarily going to be fighting the same thing over and over again. Although I guess depending on your decisions, maybe you will be. There's a lot to see, a lot more to come, and we'll probably talk about this one a lot more too as it comes up. But again, I'm going to start moving a little bit faster. I think I'm spending more time than I wanted to on some of these games. So let's speed it up. So Time of Destinies. This is one that's another campaign story game. What I thought was really cool about this one was there is an app where you're doing a QR reader and kind of scanning cards, and you're kind of racing the other players to fulfill your destiny. So there's a little bit of more competitiveness in this storytelling game. So every character kind of has their own goal they're working towards. And you're not necessarily working together, but I mean, there also might be some bad stuff that, this big bad guy that you don't want. So there's going to be a little bit of semi-cooperation, I believe. But again, it's a race to who can finish their goal first. So this was the right here first competitive story-driven RPG like board game ever. So the scan to play technology is what really sucked me into this. We'll have to see how it works out because I know there's a lot of people that complain about app-based games. But I was like, oh, this is cool. Get a bloodhound, scan that in, have different effects. So we'll really see on this one. I'm excited to try it out, but I really don't know, how this is going to end up. It got pushed back a little bit. It says it's Joan of Arc compatible, but I think there is a little bit of some stuff going on there, and that's not necessarily the case. But it was really fun doing these expansion packs because during the campaign they actually had you vote on stuff, which kind of changed kind of the levels and how they decided to kind of build that up. So that was really cool to kind of be a part of. Looking forward to this one, and I believe this should be here by the summer. I think they're in those final production waves, and it will kind of make its way over here. So again, another story campaign game to try out. All right, Chronicles of Drugalore. I'm not going to get that right, so I do apologize. I just watched a video of King of Average unboxing this one, and it made me really excited that I did back it. This was one that I think I had a late pledge pop up on my Facebook, and I was like, ooh, pretty miniatures, interacting storybook. Again, it was in the same kind of wave that I backed Storm Sunder and Teneris, and I just was really excited about the idea of these big campaign games that I kind of got a little trigger happy. And, maybe this wasn't one I needed, but again, really excited that I'm adding it to the collection just because watching the unboxing looks really, really cool. So it's the same kind of thing. You're a skirmish game, or it's a grid-based game. You're moving around, you're kind of playing through a story. It's kind of cool because it's on kind of these 3D maps, makes it a little bit higher up where you're going to have bridges. And when you get to a certain spot on the map, there's actually going to be these booklet things. You can interact with objects, and you only get so many interactions, so you can't necessarily see or have everything. But that can result in different items, abilities, events kind of happening. So again, another miniature-based game. There's darkness spreading in this game that you're trying to stop. So it really prevents you from just moving through at a snail's pace. You really have to move forward because, again, this darkness kind of falls up behind you. And I don't think it kills you as soon as it touches you, but it puts you in a position where you're not going to last longer if that darkness hits you. So this is something you definitely want to maybe check out. This is one, too, that I think will be here in the next 3 or 4 months. I believe it's either just on its way to North America now or just finished up. So this is another one that should be here soon. I did just go in on the base game with this one because, again, I didn't know that much about it, but I thought it looked pretty cool. There's a class where you get like little pets and stuff. So really looking forward to that one. You're building up your character. And yeah, we'll give that a try. Hopefully it wasn't a regret. Regardless, it's looking pretty fun. All right, so this was my first experience with a CMON Kickstarter. For those of you that don't know, CMON is really famous for throwing a lot of miniatures at you and having daily goals and unlocks. And there's the fear of missing out. At this same point, I was looking at games like Zombicide, Black Plague, some of those kind of universes, because I wanted these dungeon crawler games that were faster or easier to teach. Again, this is at the same time I'm playing Gloomhaven, and I'm like, this is so much fun, but I can only play with certain players because I don't want to sit there and try to teach players how to play when we're doing these very challenging missions. So I looked at Massive Darkness as this popped up. Again, beautiful miniatures, and I'm like, okay, we roll dice. So I was able to find a copy of the first Massive Darkness just on Amazon, just the base game. And yeah, it's pretty fun. We get to chuck some dice, build some characters, gather some loot. Pretty fun experience. Can be up to 6 players. Can be pretty quick. I know we did a 3-player one. I felt it went pretty fast. Did a 6-player one. Obviously, that's a lot slower, but any 6-player game is going to be a lot slower, just based on that, having so many more players. But with CMON Kickstarter games, I look at Black Plague, I look at Massive Darkness, and then I see the Kickstarter pages, And the fact that if you back there, you get like double the content. You have all these extras. So this was something that sucked me in almost to the all-in pledge. So let's take a look. Again, you're moving through, you're fighting demons, you're fighting monsters, all sorts of stuff. What I thought was really neat about this one, just look at this hoard of plastic I'm getting. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to paint all this stuff. Upgrade pack from the first game. There's a little bit of a story to this one too. We'll have to see how that goes. I kind of like running the Massive Darkness one as single-based scenarios, but you can do it as a campaign as well. So that was a little extra for the campaign. The Heavenfall, I did pick that up as well. So gameplay all in. I didn't get all of this. There's the Hellscape, the base. There's the campaign expansion. I didn't want to get this big dragon because it was $50 for a big dragon without wings. And, to me, I was like, well, I might fight it once. So that's not really worth the $50 investment. But the 4 Horsemen, I did pick up that one. Was kind of cool. 4 Horsemen of Apocalypse. I've always just kind of liked the mythology around that, wherever they're used. Cerberus pack, I didn't pick up that one just because it was one that goes to retail. But this War of Souls, this Druid pack, kind of got all those. Didn't worry about blinging it out. But again, this was another just really, hopefully, big dungeon crawler that I can play and teach easy and just have a lot of fun with a lot of really cool plastic on the table. There's a one unique thing about this that I thought was kind of nice is every character class kind of has their own unique ability or structure, right? Like the Paladin gets to put auras out. The Ranger has this bag where you can kind of push your luck and, go for the big crits or potentially like have misses and stuff, right? The Wizard has this little spinny thing where you have to like pick your abilities. And there's, all sorts of stuff like that where each character plays a little bit different. So I think you could play this game. I think there's 8 classes, including the stuff that were extras. So you have to play it 8 times before you even try each character once. So that there gives you a lot of trying out new things. Plus, there's all the different gears and everything you can get, right? So, CMON's really big for having their daily updates. So there's tons of stuff here. And they had this, the unicorn box with a big bear as a boss. Just, I thought looked so cool and crazy. Some people were complaining about this one that it looked a little more like cartoony and chibi compared to the first Massive Darkness. But I don't know, being that I was kind of all new to this at the first time, I loved it. I thought it looked so fun. So as I was talking about, each class has their own special stuff. That's kind of here. The Berserker kind of can do more abilities as he kind of gets hit and takes damage. The Ranger has the Ranger has this like arrow thing that builds up. The Rogue has some like bag building type stuff. Shaman does stuff in the elemental board. Again, I looked at this stuff originally, but there's so much to learn here. A lot of content, a lot of plastic. Again, I can run the most epic Dungeons and Dragons campaign just based off all these miniatures. So they have the like angels kind of versus demon stuff here. Really looking cool for me. Again, this one should be maybe not as deep as some of the other ones I've talked about earlier here in this video, but there's definitely a lot of cool looking stuff through here and should be more simpler. Like maybe one night I just want to have a beer and roll some dice and fight some monsters. So that'll be a lot easier than the other ones we've talked about before. So Hell, the Last Saga is another campaign game. Oh man, I'm almost getting tired of talking about campaign games. I'm probably going to have to break this into 2 parts because this video is getting to be a little long. But Hell, the Last Saga is another exploration survival game based on your Viking, tribe, right? And to survive and to move along. A lot of grid-based tactics in this one. The story seemed really mature, and actually my co-host Shane, I looked at this and I was like, he'd love this game. He loves that kind of Viking mythology type games. I was like, this is one me and him could rock out. So I just picked up the base pledge for this one. Really cool, unique art style. That was kind of enough to bring me in already. So I did get onto this one as a late pledge. And to be honest, didn't do my research as much into this one. I just thought the art looks cool, the theme looks cool. Let's try it out. And again, tons of miniatures, map-based stuff. You're rolling dice, you're fighting stuff, and there's some aspects of survival and kind of seeing this world, right? Is your tribe going to survive? So extra miniatures, just more kind of deluxe components here to kind of help you keep everything organized. This game again is not going to be here this June. I believe it was pushed back to the fall as well. But again, I'm totally okay with things just taking their time to make sure we have a good game. So it's this, again, it comes down to the art style that I really enjoyed. And again, because I was waiting for all these games to arrive, I just got, yes, I need campaign games. I need this story stuff. I need to go interact with Object A, check it out, figure out what's going on, choose my options, and change this world that I play through. So really looking forward to that one. All right, so still on to that campaign game world. Role Player was a game I was introduced to right before I got into D&D, because I read that it was a game about making characters. And I was like, you can do a game about that? And I looked more into it, and it's a dice recruitment kind of game. You're building your characters, you're picking your stats, rolling a lot of dice. And for me and my wife, we really enjoy it because we're telling the story of this character we're creating, and then we score up and see who gets the most points. And then Role Player Adventures pops up, and it's, now let's make these characters and send them on an epic journey and quest. So I was sold pretty much right away on that one. I'll kind of flip through. Again, narration, storybook. They do have some pre-generated characters, but you can take your characters from Role Player and import them directly right into Role Player Adventures, which really sold me on this. I have my characteristics saved from my first character to try in this game when it comes along. So looking forward to that. Lots of storybooks here. A lot of manipulation. So this one's going to be a dice management, roller, and manipulating kind of game. So it is a campaign game. You are doing a story, but it's not just dudes on a map fighting miniatures. This is more heavily dice involved, manipulating, and management. So should have a different gameplay. That should make it different from other games in my collection. So again, it talks about the pre-gen characters, deluxe removable resources trays. This I always look for. So amazing. And yeah, so you get to kind of, like I said, create your character. Here's that importing from Role Player. So you take their information, your class, you kind of bring it over, your stats. When you get dice challenges, you kind of have these stature, your basic RPG stats that you're using to give you so many cubes. That's what you do abilities. And then you can use those for the challenges, right? And you can kind of try to maximize your outcome on one challenge, but that might leave you kind of exhausted for other challenges. And then you have gear, like your item cards, your weapons. All the abilities on those are going to be ways to add one to your dice roll, remove one to your dice roll, change the color of your dice, just to, again, help you kind of do that mediation. So you see here, we got like re-rolls, change numbers. And this is something that's supposed to come this summer. So I hope me and my wife or some other people can give this one a try. It looks like it's going to be fun. I think this is something that I'll really enjoy to play through, and that it's different enough that it should be a lot of fun. And the one expansion talks about, I think it's a bit more into your kind of backstory and kind of creates some more story events for you. kind of as you go along. Just trying to see if there's anything that I super missed here. Yeah, the map can change a little bit as you discover new things and move to different adventures. You have that kind of branching narrative we talked about. And yeah, this is just something that I've loved all the other role player games. So why not give this one kind of a go? And I liked, again, starting to branch out at this point and see those different dice drafting manipulation games. And I don't always just have to move things around on a board. 2 more campaign games, and then we're done with those. So I'm a big Monster Hunter fan. This was the last game that I pledged and kind of went all in on and nuts because I wanted everything. And this was Primal. Not going to spend a lot of hours on this because as there's more Kickstarter updates, we'll get more information kind of out to you guys. But essentially, you're taking your character, you're building your deck based on the weapons and items you have, and you're fighting these big bad bosses through a campaign. There's no grid-based tactics. I shouldn't say there's none. There's no big map for this one. It's just it's a circle that's in 4 quadrants, and you're kind of doing a lot of, flanking sides and where you are to the monster, but you're not tracking around all the way across a map. So I really like the idea of that. And the deck building and comboing your cards together is what really kind of sold me and excited me for this one. One of the original games me and my playgroup played a lot was Marvel's Legendary. And that's a deck builder where you can start building out card combos, right? Where they're like, if you've played 2 red cards this turn, this card gives you X, extra 5 damage. Or if you play it by itself, it might only do 1 damage. So you really want to string combos together of certain cards or certain characters and certain abilities. Primal really gave me that same kind of look where there was cards. It's like if you go a red, then a blue, do X. Right? So there's going to be a lot of card comboing, building your deck, and like any Monster Hunter game, crafting your items and gear. So you got there's the big over-the-top kind of like Monster Hunter weapons, right? Where the weapons are just as big, if not bigger, than the character. So this looks, again, it should be really fun. Oh yeah, the cool thing about this one too is it's not you take a turn, bad guy takes a turn. It's all done on a behavioral deck. So you're going to take the player turns. There's 4 player turns in a round, and the monster will change the way it acts based on the stuff that you do. So kind of on their player mat, they might say, if their attack this turn, activate this card. If there's someone by the tail, activate this card. And they're always face down, but you see the symbol. So you don't know exactly what it's going to do, but you know how that card's going to trigger. So example, for this symbol here, if this creature is attacked this round, you're going to trigger that card. And these cards, at least 1 each round cycles. So it does disappear. So if there was, a round where you want to play more defensively or not trigger this aggro, or wait till maybe your defender character can do that, then you kind of work on those opportunities. The monsters are going to have abilities that build up over time. Again, there's just a lot kind of going through this game. I like that some were like Godzilla looking, where others had like wolves, and this crab thing, I don't know why, but I'm like, I need to fight this thing. Like, this wants to be one of the things that I just want to take out. Like, I just thought it was so neat looking. Again, it's probably because my whole thing about I loved water-based, sea-based games. So I was like, yeah, let's get this like crab-looking beetle thing. Although I don't see any water here, but I just it looks like a crab. So going through just some more miniatures. There's a nightmare mode that was added through some of these Kickstarter kind of additions. And I've been hearing that the base game already is crazy hard. So the nightmare stuff definitely looks like it will be a real challenge. So here's that forging, each kind of weapon. Each weapon has 3 levels for each element type. And then It's actually your weapon that tells you what you can put in your deck. So it has, you get X number of red cards, blue cards, and so on and so forth. So just an overall, we got a crafting deck management game where you're fighting bosses. And this is the big epic guy at the end. There's tons more bosses. Here's those 4 quadrants. So this one, you can definitely still get in on the late pledge because the pledge manager isn't even open yet. Just ended a little while ago. So this is one that I'm definitely recommending without even having a chance to play it yet because it looks very, very cool. Last campaign game. Then I'm going to take a breather. ISS Vanguard. So this was the first thing that really popped up on GameFound's their own pledge manager actually running campaigns, I believe. Now this one has some dice mediation, but it's the story that kind of brought me in for this one as well. As you can see, it's the only one that's science fiction, so that was part of the reason why I was like, let's give this one a back because it's a little bit different. But the game essentially takes place in 2 stages. Your first one is exploring planets, where you have some dice rolling and mediation and manipulation to kind of explore this world and interact with what you can discover. And then the other half of the game takes place on your ship. That's where you're making decisions, how to manage your crew, how to deal with the planet discoveries, and just kind of play through this big science fiction adventure. Reminds me of Mass Effect, basically, and that's really what dove me into this one. I'm like, I need to check out this world. So stretch goals added a lot of extra content. Now, this was one where at my point in backing games, I started to say, I need to be more wallet conscious. So I did get just the standee version and didn't put all the extra money into miniatures. Although they looked super cool, and I went back and forth, I thought it was more important to kind of save the money and just do these standees. They look super cool too. The art's really fun. You got the dice, different managements. And again, you could play this solo, but if you're playing multiplayer, they kind of take different crew, different departments of the ship on. So you can be part of the recon crew, the science crew, the engineering crew, or the security crew. And that kind of gives you a bit more agency into what you have a little bit more control over when it comes to making those decisions on the ship. Obviously, if you're doing solo, you're going to get to decide everything. So you actually get a binder that comes with this game where you're sliding in events or discoveries into these decks. And yeah, I just thought I loved Mass Effect, at least the original trilogy. Didn't like the ending, but it was a beautiful ride getting there. So I was like, hey, it's in a board game. Why not try it out? There's different landers. And I thought, yeah, this is just something I wanted to give a try to. And the shipbook phase, I know a lot of people are, I think it's what really excites some people, but also holds some people back because you could be spending half an hour exploring the planet and then half an hour in this binder, right? Almost like you're doing homework. But to me, it's that management style. It's, are you able to manage your resources to kind of get to the end? That really excites me. I'm more in for the story and rolling dice and stuff is part of that journey. But to me, this is what it's the story that sucked me into this one. So I'll scroll down just a little bit more, just some more pictures. Yeah, you got your engineering bay, the recon bay, security, and science. So again, tons of dice, lots of mediation there. You can level up your characters as well, and they can definitely die forever as well. So looking forward to experimenting and exploring on my ship and some of these planets. So that there, everyone, is my campaign games that I'm kickstarting or have kickstarted, waiting on arrival. So that's a whole lot of just campaign. So I do, for all of you that did stick it out to the end, thank you guys so much for hearing about me nerd out about my campaign kickstarters. And there's going to be a part 2 to this video where I talk about my non-campaign games. So thank you so much and have a wonderful evening.